Dominic, welcome.
Hello.
We were just talking about the fact that people play Shape of My Heart incorrectly on YouTube. Okay, now this is kind of an important thing. This is one of the most played songs ever. Not just the version that you and Sting wrote, but the countless other versions.
First of all, I'm happy that people are trying to work it out. I wasn't really trying to work it out when I came up with it, but it's, you know, it's one of those things. There's a lot of little nuances in it that it's not really that important, to be honest with you. But if people are going to educate and say, this is the way it's done, well then, you know, at least get it right.
I want to set the record straight for how it's actually played.
Okay, well...
let's start with how it was actually played on the original recording.
Well, on the original recording, actually, it's funny you asked that because I used a solid body nylon string guitar. It was a Fernandez. And so I had a long neck and I had a cutaway.
Yep.
So I had access. The way I actually played it originally was right up here. So but you can't really do that on this kind of guitar.
Right.
You know, so I played it kind of, I'll try and do it. And the thing is that chord is
way
easier to play it there.
Yes.
Than it is to play it somewhere else. So the way people have been teaching it for years, and they're not at fault, it's because live I always played it down here.
Right.
Because of there's something wrong with, the other problem with playing it up here is that you might have tuning issues, intonation issues.
Yeah.
So I've been playing it sort of here. See, that's the problem chord.
It's so awkward to play that.
The problem with that chord, I got to tell you a funny story about this because I saw one of these videos that you're talking about. It's some Dutch guy I think he's got a lot of followers or something, and he's very good guitarist and a good educator. But first of all, I saw the headline of the video which showed up on my feed, and it said Sting's most iconic riff, and I thought, I was interested to see what that might be. Is it Roxanne? Is it going to be Every Breath You Take? And I'm genuinely intrigued. So I turn on the video, and it's Shape of My Heart. Okay, first of all, that's a mistake. And so I thought, I want to see this video. So then he's going on and on with the video, talking about the song and everything. And I'll go, okay, well, that's okay. I don't really mind, you know, who cares? Because why should I really care, you know? It's not that important. But then he said, he's talking about this, how difficult it is, these chords. He says, but the guy who plays it live doesn't play that chord live because it's, you know, it's a very awkward chord to play, but he doesn't do it live. He does a variation.
He takes the easy way out.
He takes the easy way out, and I'm thinking, really? And then I thought, that's not true, but then actually it is true. Because the thing is that chord, it's almost impossible to play if you're standing.
Yeah.
Sitting down, it's okay.
Of course.
But if you're standing, playing that is really difficult. So I modified it to go. I play it like that. So
which is nice too.
Which is nice too.
But
I took it personally.
Yeah.
I thought, first of all, the guy who plays it live is playing it wrong.
The guy who plays it live wrote the lick.
Yeah. But now I'm playing it correctly, but it's so difficult. And I'm really struggling, you know, standing up. I am playing it the right way, but it's like, I'm only doing it because I want that guy to see the video. See a video of me playing it. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, but actually every part of the riff is harder to play because even like the D flat, the 7th chord there, because all those things are closer together up high.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it is easier up high. Everything is, especially this. That chord is definitely easier up there.
Yes.
Because you're not doing a big stress.
Yeah, and then the next chord is easier, really. Not that it's hard or anything.
Then everything else is normal.
Yeah.
I'll play you the riff the way that I see it.
Okay.
Okay? The way it really is. It's like with this fingering, so it's. So it's very simple.
But it starts with a single note, though.
It starts with a single note, because a lot of people, what they get wrong is they start, but then it's got no kind of, it doesn't really roll.
There's no
it needs to
counterpoint.
kind of roll. So I start with a, obviously, I'm exaggerating the bass there, but so
Yes.
normally I just kind of brush it, so it's really quiet, etc.
All right, let's talk about some of the other versions.
Yeah.
Craig David did it. There's his
Yeah,
version, right?
Rise and Fall.
Rise and Fall,
Yeah.
which was a big
hit.
Big hit.
Yeah.
But the Juice WRLD version
Yeah.
was a massive hit. And there's been so many covers. Why do people keep coming back to that riff?
I really don't know, and I'm very happy that they do, but I saw an article written about that, and I think that, to answer your question, I think the main reason is that there's something about that tempo,
Yep.
and also a descending chord sequence seems to kind of connect with people. Something about, like a House of the Rising Sun is a descending chord sequence. Whiter Shade of Pale is a descending chord sequence. There's something about a chord sequence that just keeps going down. I think that might have something to do with
Okay.
it. And the chords are not like conventional chords, and they're sort of more like classical type chords.
Right.
And I think that's why people identify with it. But the Juice WRLD version is interesting because really since we came up with that song, every year I get a request for clearance for some artist in anywhere in the world, in Japan, in Russia, in Czech Republic, or in England or America, a lot in America,
Okay.
especially with the rap genre.
Yeah.
I get asked for clearance many times, and this was one such day when my manager sent me a version. Usually I go, sure, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I approve.
Right.
What do I care?
Anybody
you
wants
know?
to cover your song, great.
You can do what you want with it.
Yeah.
But this one I'd heard, and as soon as I listened to it, I thought, this is like, doesn't sound like anything. It's like an 808 bass drum playing the bass. So it was like a tuned bass. I thought, what are they doing? I thought it sounded dreadful. But then I was really intrigued by the vocals and by the lyrics and what he did with the melody. And I thought, this is probably one of the better, more interesting versions that I've heard of this. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't even make it past the first chorus, actually.
Okay.
I thought, yeah, good. And I carried on with them. I was in an airport somewhere, just listening with headphones.
Right.
And it's fine. So, but then the thing really blew up. And it's like, I remember Sting and I called him. I said, do you realize that we've got like a song that's being played on the radio every day, all day?
All day.
In 2018.
Yeah.
And he says, I know, yeah. But then it just kept going up and up and up. And then it became a huge hit. And of course, we're very happy with that. There have been other versions that were really good too, that didn't really do much. We like our version.
Right.
And the other funny thing, Rick, is that, it's that sometimes people think that Sting nicked it off Juice WRLD, And I've got a few videos that I've done with because I have a band and we play that live with my band sometimes. And sometimes in the comments, people are saying, oh, you're just stealing Juice's riff there. And I'm thinking, hang on, mate, But it's fine. All these things, it's all fine. I'm really cool with it. And even the YouTube educator, he just didn't get his details correct.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? I'm quite happy, and I'm really just happy that people want to play that song and
Sure.
to teach it.
Yeah.
To show people how to play, because it's a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
And so it's great if people want to learn it.
You just did the ultimate tutorial right there.
Did I?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
the proper tutorial.
All right,
Done by the person that wrote the riff.
Yeah, but I could get into more detail, but it's just really, the thing with all these things, Rick, is just to approach it slowly. Because if you do it slowly, you've got a chance of kind of getting it right. And just get the sound of it.
Make every voice
Yeah.
be heard.
Because everyone's in a rush with all riffs, myself included. You hear a great riff, and you want to just play it, but no one's really thinking about the sound, And it's difficult to make a guitar sound good. That's what we strive for as guitarists. I mean, I've seen people that you've interviewed, they talk about the same thing. It's like, what is the sound? You know?
Right. Now, you were just playing some arrangements before we started
Yeah.
that you've done recently of popular songs that
Yeah.
you've done for guitar, for solo guitar.
Yeah.
Talk about the concept, first of all, about what were you saying about it, that it's for semi-pro players? Is that how you say it?
I've always been, it's funny because we all sometimes hang out we go to a hotel, or we might see some guy in the corner playing some classical guitar music.
Yeah.
And the repertoire is really limited. And it's either Recuerdos de la Alhambra or it's just like something like that. And you think, okay, so you carry on with you having your tea in the Ritz-Carlton or wherever it is. There's some poor guy, guitar player in the corner, no one's really listening to him. So I thought, I want to offer this guy something where people might go, hang on, I like that tune. First of all, what is it? Oh, I know that. That's really good. So it's just a way of coming up with solo guitar arrangements. I just fancy doing it for myself, really.
Yeah.
Not because I'm thinking of playing in the Ritz-Carlton anytime soon, unless you never know.
Right.
I would do it, because I like to work, but, and I just sort of think that I want to offer these guys, or people just in general, even people who are semi-professional, just to play at home, to play tunes that everybody knows, a lot of people know, from the great big songbook, and everybody likes, where you don't have to sing. If you don't sing, that's okay, because the melody is in the tune. I was talking to the publishers, Hal Leonard, about this book, and they liked the idea of it, and to do it so it's not too difficult, because I'm not that amazing a guitar player either, so I want to do something, write arrangements that I can play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were into the idea, and then they said, you choose the songs.
Okay.
And then we'll see we'll compare your list with our list. And so I'm thinking about the kind of songs that I like, and who do I like? I like Elton John, I like Stevie Wonder, I like Cat Stevens, I like, I like ABBA. I like Adele, some of Adele's songs. They kind of move me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're part of the songwriting canon,
That's right.
And also there's some classical stuff I like, like Bach.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of trying to show a little bit of everything. For instance, this Elton John song that I really like is Your Song. For me, that's
one of my favorite songs.
That's the best song that he wrote, I think. It's very
Love that
simple.
song.
It's so nice, isn't it?
Beautiful.
And then I think that's right.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It's nice.
Great.
I love that song. And so for me, the important thing was to try to arrange it in such a way that the melody comes out. Mm-hmm. So the melody is the most important thing. That's the vocals. So think of it like that. So to a guitar player or to a student or to a semi-professional, just think about that. Imagine you're singing it. And then the rest is just kind of falls into place. And when I was arranging it, I was just thinking, what is the melody and what is the root? What are the root notes? And then the other thing is, what is the note in between? You know, it's just like, you only need 3 parts. And that's what's fun about this. About doing this kind of a project is just that. It's not to try to be clever. I'm not trying to put my personality into it at all.
It's totally faithful to the melody, everything.
There's a few others as well. I mean, of course, ABBA. You know, I had to... etc.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love that tune. It's just something. It's a beautiful, beautiful melody. And what I like about that is that the backing vocals kind of play a part in it. And I'm always listening to backing vocals in songs. I love the way people write back, and they were genius at that.
Geniuses.
And that becomes part of the arrangement, and it's really great. You know, backing vocals are always give you a really good clue as to what's happening harmonically with a song. You know, particularly with Sting.
You do a version of Eric Carmen.
All by myself.
All by myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you do that? I can't imagine people taking the songs that I do these countdowns every few months where I'll go and listen to the top 10 songs in the pop charts. With the rare exception, I can't imagine somebody 30 years from now doing arrangements. These songs are so sophisticated, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
The harmony. There's so much that can be done. They sound so complete just by playing the melody, the bass, and one or two little inner lines.
I agree.
That sounds amazing. And every song that you've played has
I
much
haven't got
movement.
I haven't got all the details, but I've picked out the essential details.
Right.
It's almost like translating a book
Yes.
from a different language into your language.
Yes.
And the language that we are speaking is harmony and music. Okay, so I can't get all the elements and all the nuances in your language put into this language. But what are the key elements? And like as I said, is the melody is king, and then what are the roots? Which is not even that essential. Sometimes you don't need to articulate them. But what are the magic notes in between? But you're right. Music now is. I'm not really complaining because I like a lot of stuff that's out at the moment. It's just that it's a different way of approaching songwriting.
Well, because they're sampling your songs and writing them.
Well, actually, to be fair, most people just use the riff part. I mean, the song does go into different directions.
That's right.
And it changes key, of course.
It does change keys.
But there's some. I like modern
Actually,
songwriting.
let's talk about that here. Let's talk about when it changes keys.
Yeah.
How the riff changes there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a. It's basically the same thing, but actually what's happening here, that's the fingering that I'm doing it now in the key change is actually the fingering that I did
On the original one.
on the original,
Yeah.
except much higher up. So we got a... to C sharp. Takes us nicely to...
Now, had this guitar teacher talked about that part, then he or she would have realized that it's probably just played like that up higher on the same strings.
No, exactly.
Right?
And then nobody figured that out. And some people sort of think that I came up with some strange little harmonic to play this, like as if. It's like, I don't know what. I would never come up with that. So just for the record, the way that, I don't know, they saw some video of me in Sting's house playing it on the guitar that he just had lying around. And people are saying,
I know that video.
Yeah, okay, so what is this guitar? And I don't know. It
was like
just
some
there.
little tiny guitar
It was
or something.
there,
Right.
Just whatever was lying around. And I think it's some old Martin or something.
Sure.
It's not my guitar.
Okay, so I want to talk about this, about Sting Police songs that you play.
Yeah.
And you have these riffs that have existed forever that you play, and talk about how you put your own spin on them, or you don't.
I would say that I don't.
Right.
Especially with Police songs, because first of all, they're really good songs. I've always enjoyed playing Police songs. People ask me, do you ever get bored with playing the same stuff every night? And the answer is no, because I always find some nuance in it that to make me excited, And they're very strict. Who am I to come up with my own riff on Every Breath You Take? I can't come up with a better riff than that.
Right.
I'm never going to come up with something that's...
That's so wrong.
Really? Am I going to do that?
Okay, let
No.
me ask you this. So on The Secret Policeman's Other Ball, when Sting plays Message in a Bottle,
Yeah.
he plays the open, instead of playing C sharp, with the...
Message in a Bottle, yeah.
He plays with the low E string. Sometimes... Yes.
Really? Is that what
yes.
he does?
He does that. Occasionally he does that.
Well, he can do what he wants.
Right.
He wrote the song.
So but he varies that one song like that. I remember watching this when he did it just solo, and then he played the low E on that, and I was like,
I think that's cool.
beautiful.
We don't do that live, and also now we do it in a different key.
Yeah.
Because every decade we drop a step.
Right.
Or half step. That's how come we're still touring,
Right.
because that's why he's still got his voice.
Yeah.
The trick is to still find the right energy, because changing key to a song, it changes the character.
Now you do, like if you do Roxanne though, you do it in the same key, don't you?
No, Roxanne was originally in G. That's the original key, but now we
Right.
do it. And we dropped it a half step.
It's nice in that key.
But we really like it in this key.
Yeah.
And it's only a half step, but it's made all the difference to him.
Yeah.
And because he's the singer, he's the
Sure.
one out there singing every night. It's easy for us to just change a key and play a song.
Well, it's
But
nice having the open strings in there and the F sharp.
Yeah, it's a-
F sharp sounds great like that.
Or, which is a little bit clever. I think it's just better to keep it like that. And etc. And I think it's very cool in that key.
Yeah.
We've changed the key to a few songs actually. Message, now we do it in B.
There you go.
Which is very nice actually.
Yeah.
But it's changes the character of the song.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Yeah.
But as I said, he's the one who's singing it, and
Yeah.
so he's more comfortable like that. Sometimes we change the key of a song just before a show. He might say, I want to go down half a step, which is always quite dangerous, and mistakes will happen.
Are you on edge with that? Now, if
Yeah.
you make a mistake, does Sting laugh or no?
He does, actually.
Yeah. From the time that we spent
Yeah.
before, I mean, Sting loves your sense of humor, especially your version of Yesterday.
Oh, God. I don't want to... It's one of Sting's little party tricks if I happen to be around and say, Dom, play Yesterday. And I go, come on, mate,
You don't want to do it.
The only joke for those who didn't get it is that I'm playing the wrong chords.
Right.
And I'm playing a crucially wrong chord. I'm playing
Right.
a major when it should be a minor.
Yes.
And I'm not going to do it right now for you, Rick. It's not going to happen. All right? Just so you know. But it's just the wrong chord. We have fun with that sometimes.
Yeah.
I remember with Vinnie Colaiuta, we used to do that in sound checks, play wrong chords all the time, just for fun.
Yeah.
Why not?
If you can't laugh about music, do you ever find that the things that you remember from gigs are things where they went totally wrong?
Oh, yeah, sure. But actually, sometimes when things go totally wrong, amazing discoveries are made.
Mm-hmm.
That can happen too. But going back to your point, is does Sting mind when we make mistakes and stuff? No, he doesn't. What he minds is if you're not present.
Right.
That's what you should be careful with. If you think that you've got this and you're feeling a little bit confident about yourself, that's when he has a
sense of
sensitivity to that.
Yeah.
So when you make mistakes, it shows him that you actually are alive and there and present because you're taking a risk or you don't mind failing. It really is like that. And he makes mistakes too sometimes, but it doesn't really matter. And the funny thing, Rick, is that because I've been with him for like 34 or 35 years, a long, long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes he makes a mistake, and I make the same mistake. Like I'm serious. It's like, did that just happen? It's like I made a mistake, but so did he. It's like we both got this, and sometimes it's an arrangement mistake, or it's a semitone out or something. And it's funny because when I go in the van with the band after the show to the hotel or whatever, everyone's going, "Oh yeah, I remember the second chorus of Synchronicity. That was they really messed up there. What happened there?" And I'm quietly sort of thinking, it wasn't a mistake. I was in sync with the singer, the band leader. But you guys didn't pick up on it. You know, you're not on the same frequency. We're not on the same Wi-Fi. But I mean, that's an exaggeration. But that's how deep this kind of thing is when you play with someone for a long, long time, and I'm sure some of your musicians would relate to this, you have a kind of telepathy. And we have that, which is really, really strong.
I asked Sting about, on the bass line on If I Ever Lose My Faith, about every other time he plays da-da-da-da-da-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
And if that was a conscious thing. Of course, it was a dumb question. Of course it's a conscious thing. Yeah. Sting does these things because he just hears them as other hooks that just happen in other instruments.
Yeah. I didn't notice that, actually, when you brought that up. But yeah, sure, he does. He comes up with these little quirks. I mean, he has a very lateral sense of arrangement.
You mentioned that before. What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
It's like lateral puzzles. You know, when you look at puzzles where, you know, something's in 3D, but it's not in 3D. You know, it's like some of these optical illusions.
Yeah.
I think his music is like optical illusions sometimes.
Right.
Because he comes up with chord choices that I never would hear anywhere else. And I think,
right.
You know, I want to show you an example. I like this song, Hounds of Winter. These are Sting's chords. So that's all good and well. That's a very nice setup for a verse.
Yeah.
But when he goes into the bridge, the pre-chorus, he goes. That's the beginning of the bridge. Those are the third and fourth chords of the bridge, which are the verse chords.
Right.
It's just putting them in there, and then they have a different character from the point of view of a pre-chorus, and it's like nobody would come up with that.
It sounds very medieval to me.
Yeah.
He has this sense of,
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like it's from the Renaissance era or something like that.
Sometimes, yeah. He's a really clever songwriter. That's just it. And that's why I'm continuously interested to see what he's going to come up with. Every time I come back to his table, I want to see what he's got. But by the same token, he wants to see what I've got because I go out and do stuff as well, you know.
Okay, so you have this other career that you've had as a solo artist.
Yeah.
You doing these solo records allows you to bring something to the table next time that you get together with Sting.
What good would I be to him if I were hanging out with him all the time? I don't think we would really grow together.
Right.
It's like having the same chess partner.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't really, you've got to go somewhere else and see a different approach. So when I go off with my band, you know, I learn stuff from them that I go, wow. I listen to the drummer or the keyboard player or there's a different approach to just playing music. And so that's what I'm talking about. So more importantly, what do I bring to my band from the Sting world is a really strong sense of being a band leader and arrangement. Because Sting is obsessed with arrangement. He goes into minute detail, forensic detail with arrangement.
Sure.
And voicings.
Yeah.
The voicings of a chord. He's obsessed with it. And so I've become obsessed with that too. So I bring that to my band. I'm going, stop, you know, these are not the right notes for this chord. And it's really, which notes do you take out?
Sure.
So I want 2-note chords, not 3-note chords, or even 1 note, because we have a bass player. So the less you play, the better. It's like a game of Jenga. How much can you take away?
It's still standing.
And the thing is still standing.
Yeah.
That's what really good arrangement is. So I bring that to my band, but then they give me so much. And then when I come to Sting's terms, I've got these different approaches or different concepts or different rhythms or different ways of articulating a chord. And he goes, well, what's that? You know, so like I bring souvenirs, I put them on the table and we mess around with them like kids because we are playing. It makes him look better. I mean, of course. And so I do that with my band. So I bring a lot of his band leader chops to my band and it really works, you know, especially the strictness of voicings, having the right voicings. It's crucial. Mm-hmm. And Sting's music is really reliant on that.
Yes.
You can't play them just in open chords. If you want to do it right, play the right voicings. Look into it.
That's really everything. That's so much of that detail in his music is so crucial to it being uncopyable, as I say.
Yeah. I saw that video you did about that, and I think you're right. He is uncopyable, and it's about the voicings. I mean, For instance, he doesn't like using thirds. I've noticed, so you don't hear a lot of thirds in his music, but that's what makes it unique. And I remember we were talking yesterday about his music. If you really want a really good clue as to how he harmonizes, how he makes music, listen to the backing vocals and imagine everything else taken out. Then you get a real sense of how he really hears this piece of music. The backing vocals are a really good clue as to what he believes is the true harmony, and they're the really crucial notes, and they give me clues as a guitar player. So
Sure.
I'm thinking that's where I want to go, more in that sort of vibe. Because like other songwriters, you can just play open chords, a major or minor or diminished or half diminished or what else is there? A seventh, and a major seventh. That's it.
Yeah.
But Sting's music has got it's the way he uses ninths and it's the way he doesn't use certain notes.
That's right.
So they're not open chords. You can't play cowboy chords.
I mean,
on
his
Sting
first
songs.
hit song in The Police is Roxanne.
Yeah.
And it has those sus chords and everything. And
Yeah.
it's just so unusual.
Yeah.
And it was something that, I mean, other than I Feel Fine by the Beatles, by John
Yeah.
Lennon, where he uses that, everything, you just wouldn't hear that stuff.
No, and also rhythmically, it's
and
very
rhythmically,
unusual.
oh,
It's,
that-
it's
I mean,
like
that
it's a
was-
tango.
Yeah.
It's like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. The drums is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, boom, boom, boom. Who would do that?
Right.
And the guitar is doing on the downbeat 3, 4. It's a tango.
Yes.
Like, and it's like who does that? And that was a huge hit. I think that's what I mean by lateral.
Yes.
Is rhythmically lateral. It's like
Yeah.
nobody would think of that.
Yeah.
And then of course Stewart, kind of nailed it. And,
Yeah.
and Andy.
And
I'm
Andy.
a huge Andy Summers
Yes.
fan. And you talk about suspension chords. You talk about the suspension.
Yes.
That's what I like about Andy's approach to guitar playing. Is he uses a lot of suspension and it's the right thing for Sting's music.
Dominic, I want to ask you about your influences, musical influences. Let's talk about guitar influences, for example.
Well, I mean, I was born in South America, in Argentina. Of course, when I was a kid, I was listening to a lot of samba music from Argentina, and Brazilian music was always around. But, my sister had Beatles records and the Stones and Creedence Clearwater. So the Stones, Beatles and Creedence Clearwater and Simon and Garfunkel were the only kind of Western, American or British rock records that we had.
Right.
So I that's all I listened to.
Yep.
Was those 4 groups. Nothing really else. There wasn't that much choice. Maybe the Monkees. But that's what I listened to when I was growing up, and of course it had a big impression on me, as it would, And now we all know, many years later, that the Beatles, are probably one of the most amazing bands that ever existed, and people will remember them in 100 years from now. I think they will be remembered in 100 years.
Yes.
There's not many bands you can say that about. So the Beatles, and then of course that I started listening more to guitar music. I became obsessed with Jimi Hendrix.
Yep.
So I got into Hendrix.
Now, is this when you were, because I know you moved to Wisconsin eventually.
So I lived in Argentina till I was 11 years old.
Okay.
And then we moved to Racine, Wisconsin.
Right.
Which is
Because your dad got transferred there,
yeah,
right?
my dad got a job in Wisconsin.
Yep.
From the same company he was working with in Argentina. So it's I was kind of dropped in America,
Of all places.
just dumped there,
Like
and
in the middle of America.
blindfolded, and I landed in America.
Yeah.
But I landed in the Midwest.
Yes.
And I thought, this is America.
Right.
And I still think that.
It
That's
is
the funny
America.
thing. I think the Midwest, to me, is what represents
Sure.
America.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love it.
Yeah.
And I love Wisconsin. I love Illinois and just the Midwest in general, So I was dropped there. And then, of course, I listened to more music there.
Yeah.
And this is like 71, 72. And this was when a lot of singer-songwriter stuff was coming around, like Carole King, James Taylor. So I was always more interested in songwriting than I was in guitar playing. And it's still that way. I'm not obsessed with the guitar. I'm not that guy. I haven't really been in a room practicing all my life, but I've been listening to music all my life. So I listened to James Taylor, Carole King, Stevie Wonder, everything that was really good around that time. But still Hendrix.
Yeah.
I thought Hendrix is my
Go-to guy.
go-to guy for rock guitar. It doesn't really get better than that. Maybe Robin Trower. I started listening to Robin Trower. I thought, hang on a minute, that sounds Hendrixy, but it's different sound. I like this. Anyone who sang or who played that style of blues rock on guitar, which was quite rare at that time,
right.
It still hadn't really come through. Then it came through much more later on. But that's what I was into. And then, of course, everything else. I moved to England, in 73. Then I got into all the English stuff, and I got into, of course, some pretty astronomical bands like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. But it was always the band that came first to me rather than the guitar player.
Right.
And it's still that way, But I just happened to have a way of I was able to play the guitar well enough to be. And
were you playing in
bands
all?
Yeah, I was always playing in a band here or there in school or wherever.
Sure.
Yeah, and guitar was I thought, well, if I'm going to play an instrument, it has to be a guitar.
Yeah.
That's obviously the.
And you would play covers, right?
Yeah,
playing
playing covers, Stones songs, attempting to play Queen songs, and nobody could ever play Queen. Right. It always sounded terrible. And Stevie Wonder songs, but I always liked Stevie Wonder songs, and the reason why I was okay with them is because the kind of chords that he was using.
Yeah.
And he was using like jazz chords.
Right.
And that's why the bossa nova helped me a lot from growing up in Argentina. See, all this started helping me because bossa nova music and it's jazz basically.
Exactly.
Just with it, bossa nova literally means new beat. It's just a different beat to jazz chords.
Well, historically, jazz music has been swing music and bossa nova music both together.
Yeah. So whenever I heard anything with those type of chords, I always recognized them. I thought, ooh, I like that. That's why Stevie Wonder immediately, his albums, Talking Book and Inner Visions and Fulfillingness, and of course, Songs in the Key of Life was just those 4 albums just completely blew my mind. Anything that had that sort of chord language, and of course, bands like Steely Dan, when they were using sophisticated a sophisticated dialect. I always liked that, It always spoke to me as a muso. So now I was getting more into harmony, and so then I wanted to try to figure out what is all this stuff, what's going on. So then I learned a way of chord language.
Okay, we talked last night about guys like Larry Carlton.
Oh yeah. Well, I would put him as a kind of accompanist to great songs. I don't think there's a better guitar player than Larry Carlton. And his genius, if you like, I think is his choice of notes.
Yes.
I mean, forget we know he's got a good feel and a good sound. It should be a given that that's all good. So with that
the solos that he did were beyond genius and everything, but his accompaniments.
Yeah. And his economy with notes, it's like a lot of the time he's not playing the root note and he's not playing the melody. So he's staying away from what the bass player is doing and from what the singer is doing.
Yeah.
And he's just playing what complements both of those elements. And that is perfect guitar playing. To me, is a lot of the time he's just playing 2 notes. Because I analysed a lot. I did everything by ear back in the day.
Yep.
I was just listening with headphones. And so that's why I really, really admire his playing. And Steve Lukather had a big impression on me as well because of the way that his choices.
No choices.
And see, what's great about these people is that they don't try to put their personality in the music. It's selfless, it's egoless.
Serve the song.
But by virtue of not trying to do that, their personality somehow comes through, but in a positive way.
Right.
So that's a Lukather-esque type of riff on Beat It or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's Larry Carlton because of the style.
Yes. But
it doesn't interfere with the narrative. That's why I consider them the greatest session players. And another person I'd like to mention is Lindsey Buckingham. I think the greatest masterclass of how to play on a song is on the album Rumours. Every single song, the guitar playing is absolutely sublime. Not only tonally, the sound, the
sound, the feel,
choices,
everything.
The notes, the attitude, and how it supports the song. So these are my heroes, and Andy Summers as well.
Yeah.
as a session player.
Yeah.
Andy Summers, I don't consider him a session player. He's a band member, you know.
Yeah.
But myself as a session player, I take inspiration from that way of approaching music. So slowly, these people became my heroes.
When you joined Sting's band, I loved your playing, and of course that makes sense because you like all the same people I like.
Yeah.
No, your taste emanated from those people that
Totally.
were your influence.
Yeah.
And deciding on what types of things work right for the song.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And but those are my heroes.
Yeah.
So what I'm always thinking, what would he do? What would they do? You know, because I became a session player in London, more and more busy in the late '80s, in the mid to late '80s, and in those days there was a huge void for a guitar player to play on records.
Mm-hmm.
So I somehow fell into that scene with producers calling me up every day. You know, it's like, oh, he's the guy who can adapt to anything. So I was like a sort of Carlton light.
Right.
You know, I was.
Just out of curiosity, what would you bring to the studio with you back then? What kind of gear would you bring if you were doing a
always
session?
had a Strat. It was the most important thing is to bring a Strat and a Les Paul.
Okay.
And a pedal board, which was just like some dodgy science project.
Yeah.
You know, like with just.
And would
know,
you carry a combo amp with you or something?
No, I mean, not if. Didn't have to,
Right.
you know. But a Mesa Boogie would have been my go-to amp if they didn't. That's what I would ask them to hire.
Okay.
So a Mark III Mesa Boogie, those chunky ones that really heavy, it really hurt my back a few times.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be
I don't
carrying
know how
those.
anything so small can be so heavy. You try putting that in a station wagon, you know, break your back. Anyway, I had those, and I always brought a nylon string guitar with me.
Okay.
And I remember, except the one exception was the first really big break that I had was with Phil Collins.
Mm-hmm.
That was in 1988 or 89. I was on the But Seriously album. Mm-hmm. I remember showing up there. I didn't bring anything. I didn't have
Now, did you know Phil at all? Or
I
no?
didn't know him, but Hugh Padgham, who
Yeah.
I'd been doing a lot of sessions with, thought of me as the guy that could play on this record.
Okay.
He put me up for it.
All right.
And I actually...
Hey, everybody, I'm Rick Beato. So I've been on this kick lately about music becoming less and less complex over the last, 30 years, 40 years or so. And I keep thinking, what is the most complicated song that I've ever played that's a pop song? And I was reminded of a gig that I played in 1983. My buddy Smitty called me up in the beginning of the summer. It was my junior year of college, and he says, hey, I got a gig for us for 4 weeks. And I said, what is it? We're going around to the Rochester parks, and we're going to play for kids. And it's a pop group. We're going to play maybe some standards. You're going to be on guitar. I'm on bass. Terrence Bruce is playing sax. Terrence was a great, great sax player, playing in a band called Cabo Frio, a funk band. And then there's a drummer and a female vocalist. I said, okay. We get to the first rehearsal, and this girl says one of the songs she wanted to do, most of the songs we knew, and one of the songs she wanted to do was the number one song at the time. It's called Never Gonna Let You Go, Sergio Mendes. Paul and I hadn't heard it. We didn't listen to the radio or anything, so... she had a cassette player there. It's like, well, play it for us. We figure, we can learn any song. No problem. We're jazz guys, right? So she starts playing the song, and it's like, I'm like, yeah. Oh, that's weird. What was that? Wait a minute. Wait. Back that up a second. So she backs it up. It's like, okay, so we're trying to do the math in our head. Here we go. It starts out in F sharp minor, so it's 6, 2, 5, 1. These are just inversions to the 4, to the 5, and then to major 6, first modulation. That's a borrowed chord. But then the verse goes up to G minor 7, right? So it moves up a half step. So there's a modulation. So then we're trying to follow the song from the beginning of the verse. Okay, so here's the verse. Okay. Yeah. Whoa, what was that? Whoa. What? Okay, so we're thinking that we can do this without a chart, right? For a gig later that day that we're going to play for people. So Paul and I, we haven't even gotten through the whole song, but we're thinking, should we write a chart for this? No, we can figure this out. So we start out in F sharp minor, right? So dun 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 dun. That's just the intro. Then the verse, right? And then there's this, and then. Okay, now we're really getting into uncharted territory. I'd never seen a song that went through so many different chord changes. This is just the beginning of this. This is like the most confusing thing ever, right? So we go into the second half of the verse, and then. Now that I've come to see the light, all I want to do is make things right. So just say the word and tell me that I'm forgiven. And then. I mean, what? So it goes pre-chorus. Actually, a very cool change, but going from D11 or C over D to D over C to B flat sus2 or to this would be A minor 7 flat 6 or F add 9 over A, right? So totally confusing. So don't forget, we started here in the beginning of the song, the intro. Then the verse goes here, first half of the verse. Second half of the verse goes there. Then the pre-chorus is there. And so moving from the pre-chorus. You and me, we're gonna be better than we were before. Loved you then, but now I intend to open up and love you even more. This time I can be sure I'm never gonna let you go. What? That is the weirdest key change ever. They're going from, I mean, I have to read this. I still have to read it because I can't remember it to this day. Now, normally you would have a half diminished, or you'd go. But what they've done is they went a minor 2-5. Instead of going to D flat major, they go to the 3 chord as a substitute. That's actually like a tonic substitute, but it's very confusing. So we have F sharp minor. If you think about just the first chord of each section, F sharp minor in the intro, first chord of the verse is G minor, then the second half of the verse is E minor, first chord of the pre-chorus, B flat, sus2, and then the second half of the pre-chorus goes to F sharp, B, and then this, and then 2, 5, and then go to F minor. Okay, so then the chorus. I'm